Week 9 of the iRacing season is going to take Skip Barber Race Series to possibly their most iconic track in history. We're going to Summit Point Raceway. Everybody's driven Summit Point at some point in their free iRacing careers, but I've been here twice before for 2 broadcasted events here. It's a long story explaining quite how that happened, but I know exactly how it goes down here. It's ever popular, it's ever loved, and this is going to be an absolute thrill ride of a race. We've got a lovely 21 cars in for today's session. A very unusual SoF for this series, in fact, because we have a 3000 SoF that's significantly lower than usual. It looks like we've actually gone single split in our prime time slot. But we've got a lot of our championship field out today. Sam Devantier, Tim Hendrickson, Neil Garner, Ryan Chenoweth, Dario Frattini, missing Adam Miles this time around. Plenty more down the back of the grid, and if you don't know this race well, it has a particular character. I've been meaning to sort of say that I gotta say it's very, very, very funny to be hosting this on Daytona 500 week. If you know, you know quite how this race builds and develops and crescendos. Quite frankly, this is going to be the draftiest of close draft races the Skip Barber Series has pretty much ever seen. Packs are going to run it close, and it will go down to the line in a matter of milliseconds, and it seems to do every time I've been here. Got our qualifying laps underway right about now. On board with our 4 car here. We have some pretty top drivers in here. Sam Devantier in the 1, quite hasn't gotten out of the pits yet. Hendrickson here too. Without the Adam, he shows up half the time. My theory is that he'll win with half participation, but that's only a theory. That's just one person's thought. These guys are going to run up close, and it's going to be impossible to get away from the pack. That is how the game plays here. And we're going to keep an eye on some of these qualifying times as soon as they come flying in. Summit Point is a very, very, very simple circuit. Let me just get on board with one of our drivers here so we can just take a look at just how Sam is gone. Okay. He's trying to sandbag for later. This is Neil Gardner's on-board lap then. Tight first corner. You want to hold the inside very often around here. Get a bit more grip on that tarmac. Very brave drivers can run and bring it around the outside. I've heard eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series drivers have actually entered in prior time slots yesterday. So we have a bit of everything. Car just slips up and throughout the track. You can stay out of the gravel. And then you enter the tight chute at the end of the track. People can make mistakes and get themselves sent off out of the track. Around the only real tight section we get before we return to another draft train leading out of the corners. It is well and truly the draftiest track. And let me tell you, I tried 4 Daytona 500s. I actually finished one of them. So I think it's funny to be hosting this on this week. We have our first times on the board. Jane Zorek gets the first fast lap. Plenty more to come on this grid. We have, even though it's an old SoF because we've only just single split, we do have one of the largest fields you would have ever seen. A lot of names I'm going to have to try and work out on the spot here as the drivers come flying through. Neil Gardner fastest. We're going to be watching Tim Hendrickson to see how he gets up in there. We've also not seen the 1 car. Sam Devantier. He took a break and he's come back out on the field. Tim Hendrickson will be first to get a qualifying lap. It looks like his first one wasn't clean, and even then it wasn't fast. He set at 21.156, and that is actually pretty fast. It's just Neil Gardner's. Well, it looks like he's not going to get his second lap done. That was very, very much an off track both times. Tim Hendrickson, he's going to ends the sport on the spot right there and send it into the crowd. He's going to have a really hard battle up that field, but if anyone could do it, he's definitely one of the drivers that can. Sam Devante looks like he's warming up the tyres for his run around as Sunday AU currently goes fastest. 120.7. Looks like Sam slowed quite a bit through that last section there, so I'm curious as to whether he actually has a viable lap on the board. Or maybe the angle played games with me. He's going to fly on through, and we're going to find out any second now whether that was just a warm-up or whether that was just practice. A little bit of gravel kicked up, tiny bits that Tyson get away with. I don't think it did count. Takes a minute. iRacing takes a minute. It's not going to be fast enough for the top. He's behind Daniel Atoga right now, sitting in P5. He's got one more to go. Tero Hitanen. Also, another driver who... No, you know, it's not they're overslowing for that. It's just the camera angle looks really misleading. It really makes it look like that they are like overslowing to like warm up tyres. But that is how you slow for that corner. Other driver out in the field is Nathan Verney. I'm not going to say I don't recognise it ever. It hasn't been a regular contender week in, week out. I think I recognise the pink car. It does look like they're deliberately slowing down. It does look like they're deliberately slowing down. So Tero's going to set a lap first, one of the only drivers on the field to have not done so yet. Now, yeah, that's a P5. I was just going to call out, and I hate to put people on the spot like this. Our slowest driver, we did single split, and the reason this has gone 3K SoF, we usually hit 6 to 7 on this time slot, is that our lowest driver is a 272. And everyone's entitled to race, but all I'll say is I don't think he knows quite which race he ended up in. Sam Devante sits P2, goes below the 20s. Sunday AU looks to be the fastest for now. I think that's the whole grid done. That's going to give me plenty of time to run through a lot of names on our biggest field yet. Sunday AU lines up alongside a teammate of his with Sam Devante in 2. Neil Gardner goes in 3rd with Ryan. Ryan, I've been told that it's not quite Chenoweth in 4th, but I still don't quite know myself. Daniel Atoga sits in 5th with Tero Hitanen in 6th. Dario Frattini 6th and 7th with Vlado Savoski in 8th. Yannick Marrell sits next to Peter Sopanki. Oriel Serrat sits next to Brendan McDonough. In front of Pablo Breme and Marcel Dynit. That's miles off. Alex Hurte sits next to Kenneth Vick. We still have plenty of places back to go. Go Umeda sets the last lap of drivers. Behind him is Nathan Verney, Jason Wilhelm, Anthony Gollop, and Tim Hendrickson. One of our strongest drivers hasn't made the cut whatsoever. Qualifying is essentially over. We're just waiting for it to go through the motions now. If any of you ever actually had a qualifying session end early in iRacing, do let me know. I don't think it's possible. I know that the systems exist, but not in a public race. Like, it doesn't actually happen. If you get me. Drivers lining up on the grid now. Tim Hendrickson in the last place. Last clump. There are a couple of drivers behind him as you're sorted by iRating at the very back of the grid, but it's going to be very hard to punch through. This race has a dynamic unlike anything else in this series. It really is the Daytona 500 of the Skip Barber race. This will be a pack, and the only way people break it off is if they have tremendous accidents. I've actually joined a race here once, and I wasn't in the pack because I was just so slow at this car. So bad at it. But it does mean there are often tangles and incidents and little mistakes as well. Very easy to make errors into that group, and very easy to completely go bowling anything could happen with a field this big and this wide. Almost loaded in Dario to go. Then Oriol, Alex, and Anthony Gollop hit the grid, and then we are done. Journey Zorik lines up on the left-hand side, right next to another Dunkersaw car, so you're going to have to just try and make your best to understand that. But we are green, and it's a very even launch from both cars. That's 7 really quite jumping out of line there in the back. That will give Journey Zorik the inside line, as I see Daniel Atoga try to make moves as well, going into turn 1, almost thrown free wide there by Neil Gardner. Not quite going to happen as the cars break in hard for turn 1. Journey Zorik has the inside line. Mazes have an advantage as we go up the small hill of Summit Point. It's a pretty small one. It's actually Sam Devante who on the outside was able to stick it together. Usually it's quite a bit slower as we've got a few drivers in the gravel. That's the 10 in the gravel behind. Looks 15 almost had a bit of a disaster there from Brendan McDowell. He isn't going to have a big accident, no, and he's going to save it on the spot. Sam Devante leads over Journey Zorik, and Daniel Atoga has snuck in by. Break lock, though, from Daniel. He's stuck on the outside. He's going to drop back several places in a row. And Tim Hendrickson is already P12 on the road. He got a big jump of quite a few drivers off that standing start. We've got 18 laps. They're going to fly by in an instant. I see an incident in the back. Michael Dummint and Kenneth Vick. The trees obscured. I'll see, try and work out if something quite happened there. And we'll get back to it side by side now. Going into the first corner, you might just want to work together and trade the draft and make your little turn 1 passes back to back. Journey Zorik clears for the second time around. Plenty behind here who all just want to be a part of the train. I noticed the train sort of goes up to Yannick Marrell there in the back, and then it drops off as the second back to Tim Hendrickson in P11 now. Going to be seeing a little bit of gravel kicking up. Yannick Marrell takes a little bit more, though, on the way out. That would be an off-track. We did see disqualifications last week in the FF1600 series. I did not think we'd see him, but Alton Park claimed some victims, let me tell you that. Drivers flowing back through. 4 weeks to go, starting on 9, as that's Daniel Atoga backwards in the grass. I think he might have done that one to himself there, but he is well and truly back. I don't know if that car is damaged. He's towed it, though, so he's well and truly given up. We'll try and work out what happened there, but I think that could have been just an error with 3 wide down the start-finish. Sam Devante being stuck back in line a little bit, as Neil Gardner clears for turn 1 on the 3rd lap. So Daniel Atoga, he did take damage. He did take some serious damage from that, I've been told. We're going to have to go into the grossly unrealistic chase cam to spot. He does just go a little bit wide. Big jump. Can't even see what happened to the car, but I see some wheels. The car's stuck there anyway. That's not going anywhere. So a fast repair's available, but if you're off that pack, some people wonder why even race. Tim Hendrickson is up in 9th. Can we spot him in the pack? He's right on the back of it. I love the catch to start. He managed to make it past Yannick Marrell. He is by no means gone from this race whatsoever, and he's going to need it, because while I didn't quite go into the championship standings going into today, I was just so affixed with talking about what's going on. It is close. There was a 1-point gap between several drivers. Neil Gardner leads for now, but a lot's going to change as we go 4 wide. It's about as many as you can fit into Summit Point. Don't even try with 5. Ryan Chenoweth looks like he has the lead this time. 3 Duncan Watts cars there side by side. It's Chenoweth over Gardner for now. There's no way you're running away from the pack at Summit Point, though. Under no circumstances will that ever be enabled. There's nothing like Summit Point week. It's one of the most popular in the series, and the series does go from strength to strength. Flying down the hill. Hero on the rear of them, looking to try and stick with them. Tim Hendrickson, he's with them now. He is with that pack, and if he plays that last to first challenge after messing up that qualifying, you know he won't let the server hear the end of it for days. That's Alex Hurte and Peter Sopanki just behind. That makes up this main pack. But Daniel Atoga not returning to the track today. Unfortunate to lose out to a little error like that, especially so early. Other drivers might as well be thankful that they weren't collected. So we didn't get a grid from the 21 car, by the way, so we only had 20 enters in the race. Turn 1, they're going to trade places between the 1 and the 10, while Gardner keeps the advantage. I want to catch we might have had an incident from Go Meta about that. I want to catch the race start from, let's see if I can just go back and get it from Neil Gardner, because he's made it up. Oh, Tim Hendrickson even. I'm not even getting used to some of these names. Because Tim Hendrickson did make a spectacular number of passes on that start, and we're going to have to show how his race went. Let's just try and actually get the start. So here's how he made it through. Big jumps. A lot of drivers are a bit weaker around. And by the end of turn 1, before turn 1, he's made up 2. He's just sneaking his way through drivers, though. Not particularly spectacular jumps, but I think the pack broke up just a little bit around the gravel, and he's been slowly playing that game. We're going 3 wide down the start-finish straight, and it looks like Ryan Chenoweth has that advantage for now. Pretty much a drag race, and don't you worry, the end of this race is going to be a drag race within hundreds of seconds, within thousands of seconds sometimes. You can't never know who it's going to be until they are there. Here, though, you just can't make predictions. You want to be in that top 3. I've seen 3 slingshot it, though, just as much as the top 2. They may be going 4 wide. They've proven they can do it already, as so much gravel gets kicked up. I wouldn't want to be sitting in the stands. That pack, it does indeed go back to Tim Hendrickson. The 2 behind, Yannick Marrow and Oriel Surratt are battling, but they aren't quite. They've not lost it, but they're not quite on it yet as we go through the back end of this track. Almost 2 wide the whole way through. What a treat driving this place really is. Again, the chopper, as we witness just how big the runs get down this straight. Go quite wide there on that last corner. Looks like there's room for 3 wide. Dario Frattini's going to make it free. He's got the advantage. The Dunkersaw cars sneaking in behind. Sam Deventer goes for it. There's Tim Hendrickson. He's up in 6. It's 3 wide for 2 rows. Little bit of looseness going wide there from Gardner. Tiny bit of contact, but he saves the car exactly in time. That's the 20 car of Marcel Daint just behind. He probably will be caught by this pack. It's going to be a very interesting negotiation. There were some crashes back there among some drivers that didn't quite take them out of the running. You started to believe me when I say this is a Daytona 500 of the Skip Barber Race Series. It's a 1 pack, and you do not know who is leading it until the move's made at the very end. But it's a very good run from Ryan Chenoweth to lead the row. Wonder who's going to have a good run here. Dario Frattini right on the rear wing. Tim Hendrickson has well and truly gone from last to into the top 3, competing for this win. Didn't take long, took less than half the race for Tim to make it up, but when you are that naturally fast in these cars, that comes easy. I see some more 3 wide further behind here, as Peter Sopanki has joined this little battle here with Alex Hurte. Up front, we are 2 wide again. Dario up ahead. Big gravel take by Ryan. Honestly, in these slip angle cars, that gravel is very much a suggestion. You don't want to take it, but it won't ruin your race if you run into it a little bit. You can just skip right out and keep on going, even keep the car stable. And drivers are going to have to get very, very used to that. Rasko Savoski, he may have raced before, but he's not a regular championship contender. Is sort of your outside shot, I think, to have a real impact here today. Pretty much anyone that you see on screen now could do it, and another incident could, of course, kick off. It doesn't take much to send someone backwards, as Tim Hendrickson is a new race leader for just a little bit of time. Ryan Chenoweth's going to clear him off on the inside, but that is a spectacular achievement to lead that lap after that race start from the back, after that failed qualifying. It hardly matters when you're this good at what you do. I wonder how they're going to negotiate this 20 car. Even if I assume good faith, which totally can be given out when you see a pack like that going behind you, you're scared more than anything else. It's just hard to negotiate, isn't it? Going to be hard to sneak on by when you're going 2-3 wide down this straight. There's going to have to be some give and take, I think, from this pack. They're going to want to work a way around the 5 and the 4 into each other there. Just about getting away with it. Tim Hendrickson slowed down just a bit off the back. Anyone not in this pack is going to struggle to make it now. It ends here at Tero Hitanen. He's the last driver here who could really compete with this pack unless there's a massive, massive error that breaks it up. But one thing that separates Summit Point from some of the other draft tracks we've seen this season, I know Watkins Glen was very messy, is that this isn't very messy. This is a track where the drivers just know it so well. This car is as old as the track itself in iRacing, and everybody knows the limits. We're 3 wide again through the middle. Tim Hendrickson clears the 2. Now the 4 of Chenoweth on the inside will have momentum probably. Been talking to Server earlier today about how to really race this combination, and there's talk is really that you want the inside, but you can give someone the outside if you trust them. Well, these drivers have been racing every single week, so there's a lot of trust in this pack. Gotta say, I see some bitterness and some rage in some SOF groups. Not necessarily mine, but some others. And I love the good community spirits here. I really, really do. But they are aggressive racers in their prime, and Ryan Chenoweth has the lead. Traded back to Tim. I'm not sure how much it matters, though, because Dario will probably be the one with the big run for this straight. 3 wide into the last turn. Not even saving any patience at all. 2 behind. This calls for the chopper, really. Sam's on the outside, I believe. Dario in the middle. That's what I can make out, I think, at least. Tim Hendrickson has no room to get into there. That's Vasco trying to sneak his way in. Almost wheel contact, pushing them all wide a little bit. I am amazed these drivers can keep it together after that. Little bits of contact there from the right. It was Sam on the right. Sort of rebounds into Dario. Rebounds into Ryan. And they all know it's happening. And they're ready to stop it. It's Yannick Marrell with the fastest lap. We just very quickly sit the camera on him. Running very solo. Well and truly out. The chase is 7 seconds back from the pack ahead. But it proves that these fast laps can be done outside of the chase. Probably a little bit easier, actually. That was a 120.0. If someone sets a 19, I'll be impressed. This series doesn't go anywhere, and next week we're at Circuit Zolder, Chicane City. Someone remind me to buy some better cameras for that track before we go again, because I did a TCR league there and it was very hard to watch. But it'll be a very interesting race. Very, very different. Lots of very hard braking zones and some outrageous sends. Hope it doesn't go terribly wrong. We'll see you this time next week on the channel as this championship draws towards its conclusion. And the 3 wide run again. That's the 4-5 and the 2 side by side. Still more contact. Still keeping it just about sane, no. That's how you race this. That's how you do it. See, I'm not commentating every little pass that happens like it's the most exciting thing, because I've been here before. I accidentally broadcasted this race twice and got me my in doing the Iberian SoF and also doing an incorrect time slot that wasn't the Iberian SoF. But that means I learned how it ran here better than ever. Tim ahead of Ryan, 2 wide, further behind. Neil Gardner's sort of dropped off a little bit here. He's actually been passed here by Vasco Savoski. He's going to need to put in a little bit of work to get really back in there, because really it's become a bit of a top 4 shootout. We've not seen Vasco play the game with this 4. Not really seen Zerne or Tero play. They're sort of playing their own battles into the turn 1. Don't think we're going to get an outrageous run from a third driver this time, but there is space in the middle for someone brave enough to send it. It's actually going to be on the outside there by Sam Devantier. No one with enough of a run with 6 to go to quite clear Ryan. Now forgive me as I take a look at what else is going on elsewhere, because this lead pack is crazy. I was about to. Don't tempt me. We'll catch him into this corner, and I'll pop the camera back just a tiny bit more, because I've seen incidents kick off here. They're all keeping it pretty safe. Back here, Alex Hurt is still chasing with Peter Sapanki here in the 11, and Oriel Serrat behind. Over behind, this is Yannick Marrell and Nathan Thurney. Still the fastest lap from Yannick Marrell. These drivers still have pace in them back here, even if they didn't quite get to join the crew. Who's got the run this time? Everybody's made about an equivalent run for it, which means that Ryan's going to be a bit of a sitting duck. Tim Hendrickson through the middle. Don't see enough of a run on the outside lane by Sam Devante. He's going to go for it. Dario Frattini wanted 4 wide. He didn't quite get it. Give it 1 or 2 laps and Vasco Savoski will be making moves here. I think he's seen what's going on, and he's certainly not against becoming a part of it. Oh, gravel take by Ryan again. I'll be reviewing the off-tracks after this. I'll let you guys know exactly how many people took each off-track around here. Whoa, that's a real lock-up, though, there from Dario Frattini. Thought that car almost was about to go sideways and backwards. He saves it in time just to lose the place out to Ryan Chenoweth, but not even by that much. A big hop over the curb. Big risks taken time after time at this lap. Tim over a second ahead. Is this really where he wants to be by the end? I want to see quite how much purchase is made up. If Tim Hendrickson can get on the draft of that lapped car, Michael Downs, then he would actually be able to almost run away with the race. That's not something you see often around here, but they have not really gotten up to that car to clear him, while they haven't made any gap on Tim Hendrickson either. He is well and truly running. That would be a surprise finish. at Summit Point. Usually it's a chase to the line. But something about that last lap was absolutely electric. It was a 1:20.15. Nah, that's as fast as he got a 1:27.55. Not that much faster than the other two then. Must have claimed it just a little bit before. Is Marcel terrified? Well, the pack's been sitting behind him for about this long. And they are going to pass him now in a couple laps. They really are. But, you know, I don't know what I'd do in this situation. The pack's sort of going to have to sacrifice their draft train game a little bit. Tim's going to be ready to make this pass now in a lap or two. The actual pass is very trivial. He's done enough passing this race. I don't need to tell you who the biggest hard charger, the biggest gainer of the race is. This pass will be fairly clean and easy. Do wonder what's going to happen with the rest of the pack as they all sort of wash wide. That's the one in the grass going so wide. And Sam Devantier gets our 119 despite that grass run. That's our fastest lap. Lap car now in the middle. He's well and truly just he's just blinked out of existence. He is dropped off to the side of the road to let the race continue in front of him. Probably a smart move. They're communicating in ways that we necessarily it might not be, but Tim Hendrickson leads a spectacular run and could be ready to claim this win without mistake. From last to a dominant win at Summit Point. Not quite exactly last, but pretty close to it. And now the train is between the rest for P2. Hendrickson will like leading by 10 over Ryan. Adam Miles not making it again today. He's British like me, so he has to think about the concentration. But we don't need to be surprised by who's leading, but 17 passes by Tim Hendrickson off the start. What a number. And indeed, some of the other drivers really have joined this chase again. It's first time here that Vasco Savosky's going to go for it. He's on the inside. If he clears Sam Devantier here, he's a real part of this game. Neil Gardner can't be considered out of it either, even though he hasn't quite been seen like the others. Certainly by no means down and out. But really, the white flag lap is going to mean everything. Nothing up to there matters enough. We're about to approach our white flag lap, and from this point, you've got to start commentating. It's like a horse race, because this is going to be the one that determines everything. Tim Hendrickson, I think, has made his run. What a race from Tim. But for the rest of the field, second is worth a prize in itself. And the white flag flies for our final lap of the race. There's space for 3 wide there from Sam Devantier, and he sends it so. Would be space for a 4th there, but Vasco has been just about cut off from the draft. 3 wide break into turn 1, no major incident. Ryan takes the lead for now. Dario and Sam side by side. Sam's got that inside line though on the way. And he's definitely quite fast for it. Lana washing into the gravel, hopefully for the last time today. We'll review this one from the chopper all the way up to the end. Vasco Zamerski tries to make another move there on Dario. Not quite successful. Tim in front of a line of 2. It's right in front of a line of 2. Tim is coming home to claim the checkered flag. I wish I could put the camera on him as he does this, but what we're about to catch behind is going to be possibly even more tense. It's about who can get the run into these final 2 corners. I think there are 3 drivers in the realistic shot. 4 in a long shot. Sam tries to look right. Doesn't quite get the gap in. This is where the run matters for him. Sam Devonteer's alongside. It's going to be a photo finish as ever. It's not quite. I think that's a well and truly cleared. It's Dario. It's Sam Devonteer taking the P2 before him and Dario throw themselves into the stands. Let's get I need the replay. It was Sam Devonteer now that quite clearly made that. Quite clearly. Finish line. There. Sam made it quite clearly this time and wants to then join his teammates. And Tim Hendrickson takes a spectacular back to front checkered flag result. I knew he'd had a lot of work to do, but I think there are some people who know this track no better than drivers are like Tim, really no better than the whole field. So that's the results as they stand. Let's get them on the full screen. Summit Point is always Summit Point. Same as every other, but you never quite know who's going to make it. Tim Hendrickson clears over Sam Devonteer, who gets a split second finish over Ryan Chenoweth for the top three. Behind Dario Frattini, Vasco Savosky, Neil Gardner, Zane Zorek and Teru Hutanen make up that lead pack. But behind there's a lot more racing too. Oriel Serrat beat Alex Hurte over the line by a split second finish again. Peter Sopanki beat out Brendan McDowell over the line. Yannick Marrell finished ahead of Pablo Breme. In P15 there was Nathan Verney, Jason Willman, Go Umeda, Marcel Dannett, Kenneth Fick, Daniel Atoga not finishing the race after an early incident. And are there points? There are indeed points. The gap, as ever, 10 points gap between finishing first and second, and it's 15 between Tim and Ryan, which gives them quite a bit of insurance whether or not he wins at Zolder same time next week, and I'd love to see you there. So stay subscribed on Twitch and YouTube as ever, and we'll be bringing you the rest of the season as it flies on by. Well, it sure has been an eventful week in iRacing. Whether or not you've been running your Daytona 500s, your Skip Barber Daytona 500s as they clearly resemble, or anything else on the service, I'd have to wish you a great week ahead as ever.